Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually saw some pretty nifty kind of sales going on right now. Now, I'm not talking about like sales on a game going down percentage-wise, but more so a somewhat underground, quote-unquote, illegal sale that happened with the PlayStation 5. Now, as you guys do or do not know, the PlayStation 5 has these certain things called developer kits. We've actually touched on it very, very seldomly on the channel itself. And basically what this is, and I'll show you guys a picture in a second, is like just a random smaller console that is basically meant to go and develop games, test games, kind of like let people go and like that are developers have a chance to go and fully deep dive into optimization and testing things and testing updates and all of that. But these are very, very hush-hush and as well, very, very expensive. But it kind of seems like right this second, someone snuck out, stole a console, and has now sold it on the black market claiming it was pizza. I'm not even exaggerating over here, and someone made over $6,000 by selling one of these quote-unquote misuse slash repurposed consoles, to say the least. So I'm gonna give you guys the details on this one because it's kind of crazy, so make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below, and I hope you guys have had a fantastic 4th of July weekend so far. So, yes, if you guys do or do not know, basically PlayStation 5 dev kits are very on the, well, nifty side. We kind of touched on these before, and they look like monstrosities. I'm not exaggerating. These things look absolutely crazy. And the main idea is that they do actually have completely different internal hardwares. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of a bigger zoom through over here, but basically they have a way bigger memory bank. They have, I believe, also more RAM as well. They have their own individualized operating system, and of course, they have a lot more memory. So they have, like, say, I think a 2 terabyte or so hard drive. This is mainly in regards to them using this for devs. So let's go and say Stellar Blade. Whenever they're making Stellar Blade, the game itself, they would be having these consoles basically able to go utilize, test out things, and kind of see what can and cannot work on consoles themselves. Pretty much every single console has this. The Xbox Series X and S for sure had dev kits. The PlayStation, as you guys can see, this is what the dev kit looks like. And it's basically the early prototype of the console that people will have a chance to utilize and have before the console themselves come out, and as well also is utilized, as I mentioned, to develop and optimized games. But right now, there's a crazy one, or there is basically a Pizza Station 5 development where basically the pizza kit sold for $6,500. And I'm going to explain on why this is kind of a crazy story. It's also hilarious too. Where these consoles, once again, are more on the rarer side. First and foremost, because it's Sony making them, the specs are completely different, and they mainly want to go make PlayStation normal consoles for people to go and buy, and so they can kind of control what's happening in the console itself. These are more special. This is regards now to higher end devs. So once again, think like Stellar Blade devs. They would maybe have like 50 of these in their random rooms and studios. PlayStation Studios. So think like Naughty Dog, Insomniac. All these places as well would also have their own consoles sitting around. And they're very unique. This is like PlayStation's probably more proprietary technology that's specifically made for porting over games and using these games around. Now they may float around to a few individual studios. Think like EA, Ubisoft, these types of bigger companies. They most likely have a few sitting around as well. Or once again, bigger companies that are specifically day one launches for titles, they're going to have them. But that's why these are more unique. Because when it comes to things like PlayStation, they do not want these consoles to end up in, say, Xbox's hand, Steam Deck's hand, Nintendo Switch's hand. Now, they may, so we've also heard a few rumors that PlayStation, on occasion, has sent these consoles over to Xbox to, say, like, for the Sea of Thieves ports. Like, there is sometimes camaraderie, and as well, camaraderie, and there's also, like, 3 or 4 years or so since the console come out. This is probably more important for the first 1 or 2 years, and as we've been kind of sitting around for a little while longer, it's not as necessarily bad. But it still is a rare thing because PlayStation bans these, from what we've seen. Like, it's actually very, very hard to get your hands on a PlayStation 5 dev kit. If I could ever have a chance to even go and test one and have someone send me one just to show it off in a video and utilize it, I would love that, but they're very expensive. So over here where they have the $6,500 price point of the PlayStation console that has now been slipping past Sony. So complete with a slice of frozen pizza and a spatula sporting a PlayStation logo. So as you guys can probably tell on why, there's someone basically over here schemed the system. So these PlayStation 5 dev kits, as I mentioned, are hard to get. But what they did, and they did the complete workaround, PlayStation most likely would want to source any sale. They want to figure out where are these game companies, say Stellar Blade devs, say Insomniac, say whatever, they'd want to find out which game company got sent that same specific console, most likely with a serial code, and then as well, go and trace it back to the employee or the organization so they could realize who is selling and stealing the proprietary tech that's made to utilize games. So these are really hard to find in the wild. Maybe like 10, 15 years down the road when we're on the PlayStation 6 and these are not as watched, we may see some of those show up on eBay's or Craigslist or whatever. But as of right this second, they are very, very hard to find. So they went and they basically try to go and sell pizza. An online listing over here for pizza, and that's how they kind of got it worked around the system. So someone sold a PS5 dev kit as a PlayStation pizza kit. It's crazy. They have the spatula, they got the controller, they have the pizza quite literally on the console itself to try to go and scheme it. And if you guys look through the listing as well, saying this is highly likely to avoid being delisted from Sony for selling the developing kit. So number one, people don't realize of where they got the kit, and maybe not having a chance to even notice this. It's like, let's say you want to go make a video, and you're like, oh my god, Family Guy. If you put Family Guy, Brian Griffin, funny moments, most likely the automated systems on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or whatever you might be using it would most likely pick that up. But if you also do Sony PS5, that's normal-ish. Pizza Station, weird, wouldn't probably be picked by AI. And then they have that space in between the fives, and they just go and see Development Pizza Kit. So it's not Sony PlayStation 5 Development Kit, it's Sony PS5 Pizza Station 5 Development Pizza Kit. So in theory, anyone who's glossing at it and looking at this can realize, okay, this is most likely a PlayStation 5 dev kit on the black market, but instead any type of automated systems where Sony or employees or whatever might go and browse through to make sure there's no illegal goods being sold or whatever, sees this instead. And the idea is that there was actually 59 bids and the ending price was 6,000 euros. So obviously the euro, depending on the time, is a little bit stronger than the USD, so it's around $6,500. Now, there is actually quite a few things that people could go and utilize these consoles for. Thankfully, I don't believe it's anything super crazy, but you can mod your games, kind of somewhat quote-unquote hack your games, get access to some source files for individualized games depending on how you launch them and how you get them. So this is a little bit of a bad problem for Sony to let this out in the wild. Now, once again, just because they have access to this information or coding or a little bit more internal stuff, doesn't mean that every game allows it. Doesn't mean that every PlayStation game has this access very easily accessible. Some things are locked behind codes, where it's like, hey, you're going to watch God of War. Okay, I want to be able to go mod it on my console, my PS5 dev kit. Well, what's the password? And you may not have the password from Insomniac devs. They may have it, coded, etc. So it's not the end of the world, but there is a lot of real risky things they can do with these dev kits. And that's kind of why they're a little bit more under wraps, why PlayStation themselves don't want to send out to other people, and why Xbox would love to have some just in casually. Now, once again, Xbox has apparently gotten a few throughout the years for, say, Sea of Thieves or Grounded putting on over, but in the most of the time, this is a very, very sought-after thing. So we're seeing console gaming development kits are pieces of pre-release console hardware with added development features. Their release is usually strictly controlled. Actually, reselling a developer kit from a console manufacturer is a surefire way for them to get to developers or studios literally blot. And like I said, this could be a legal issue. This is selling proprietary information, and you can get a lot of information from games off this from PlayStation. So this is illegal. This is bad. So it doesn't happen typically, especially not like this, though this clever disguise likely prevented automated systems from detecting this dev kit listing. So right now, PlayStation might be in trouble, now that their dev kits might be getting out in the wild. Now, granted, there has been small opportunities, but like I said, it's usually locked behind serial numbers and everything else. If a hacker, cheat engine, or whatever gets access to this might be really bad. Of the details of the original development kit listing, the use of thin crust frozen pizzas may not be the most amusing. Instead, one can help but notice the custom spatula pictured with the unit 2 as well. So basically, this was a $6,500 console. Seeing console development kits in the wild means that a studio was either robbed or shut down, or that the existence of upcoming console is being leaked via photos or more of their development kits in action or in shipment. For example, reports the PS5 Pro, the dev kit, leaked in December 2023, culminating in a series of lots of leaks that we've kind of been covering on still so far. So basically at this point, we have not had a chance to go and see the original listing, but this could be a bad situation. That right now PlayStation could have more information leaked that we would want to, although it'd still take a very long time for people to sort through it, and what they may find is questionable. This is not a good look and not a fun thing to see. Although it is a crazy heist, and I do think this is, well, more than I was expecting. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. I appreciate you all so much for watching. Hopefully nothing super bad comes out over here, and either way, this is a very nifty heist to go make $6,000.